Welcome to JICF Midweek Chats, a series where we talk about topics that are relevant in light of the unique time we're living in. Each week, we'll have a conversation that centers on questions or challenges that arise over the current situation we're facing. Our midweek chats seek to shed light on and encourage you in the midst of this difficult season. As we navigate these unprecedented times, we hope and pray that you will be blessed and encouraged through this weekly series.
Welcome to our midweek chat. My name is Hendra Suhartanto and I'm here with my wife Mimi. We're glad that you join us today. Today we're going to be talking about relationships. All of us are adjusting to the new normal. I'm working from home and I spend a lot of time at home.
Gabby also.
Gabby
working
also,
from home.
our daughter, she's also at home. We don't have any more school-age children, but I'm sure a lot of our audience still have kids that go to school, but right now they're all also schooling at home. As well as our government is implementing PSBB or PSBB, which is like a shelter in place. We're all discouraged to do non-essential travels outside of the home. So time is being spent a lot with each other at home, isn't it? Besides, there are also other factors like news are abound and constantly, because we also want to make sure that we're all are ready and prepared. So we consume quite a bit of news. Some of them are very important news that we need to know, but there are also that are not so newsworthy, which also kind of play into our emotions, doesn't it?
Mhm.
So as a result, there are a lot of the circumstances and situations in our relationships that kind of are being tested. Our patience are also being tested with perhaps more time spent with our spouse or our children at home. That is causing us to perhaps snap a little bit easier and so on. I work from home most of my working hours, and as a result, then there are some challenges that I face. For example, before all this crisis took place, when I'm home, I'm ready to engage with Mimi and answer questions, or maybe even like catching up on what's going on in our lives in the hours that we were not together. But right now, because we're always together, when I'm at home, I'm not necessarily just doing what I used to do when I'm before the crisis. But now I have to focus on my work. But perhaps because of expectations and adjustments that has not yet been really been done in such a way that Mimi sometimes have certain expectations on me that even while I'm still focusing on my work, when she needed something, she wanted certain response from me. And sometimes I get annoyed because I'm still focusing very much on the work and she's asking me. And when I'm not thinking, sometimes I could be very snappy and maybe get angry easily, which really create tension in our relationship, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It has been a challenging time with Hendra working from home, Gabby working from home, because usually both of them are out of the house and I can have privacy at home. In the month of March, middle of March, I started to write the chapters of my dissertation, and I need the focus and concentration. And here we go. The coronavirus pandemic comes, and Hendra and Gabby works from home. It's very challenging in terms of focusing and working on my dissertation, because whenever Hendra also do Zoom call, that he does Zoom calls so many times in a day, and then we live in an apartment, so his voice is loud. So everywhere in the whole apartment, I can hear his voice.
For some reason, the decibel kind of goes up when when I'm on Zoom than compared to when I'm talking to you normally.
Yeah. So silence is almost like impossible. And I'm an introvert person. I gain energy when I'm alone. And here we go. Everybody's at home. And then Gabby is also sometimes are working. And then Zoom also. So it's like peace and quiet is becoming impossible at home. That create some restlessness in me, I guess. And then when Hendra snap, and then sometimes I can handle it. I can be patient, and sometimes I snap also. So we snap at each other.
We don't want to be a snappy family, but because of the situation, sometimes when we don't really think and really are not prepared, expectations are not set in the right places, then we can be very reactive rather than really, normally caring for each other, isn't it? So I thought maybe it's a good idea to also invite our audience to come in and share with us what kind of challenges that they face in their own homes. I'm sure that many of you or all of you are spending more time than usual at home with siblings or with parents, and then with one another, with spouses, or even if you're single, there's some new normal that you're trying to adjust to. So let's hear what are the challenges in the relationship that you have currently.
Hello everybody, this is John, and this is my wife Rebecca. And what challenges do you face during this difficult times staying at home?
Staying at home every day is with your husband and with your children is really challenging. It brought the worst of me, but that's who I am. Who I am at home is who I really are. I'm not a perfect wife and not perfect mom. I don't have this sacrificial love in my sinful nature. This is the time I need to rely on God more and serve my families for God. Sometimes kids are obedient. They love each other. And sometimes they are driving us crazy. They are fighting. They are bullying each other. The first reaction as a mom, I would say, stop doing that. If they don't listen to me, I would lash out to my children in anger.
We are the Larsens. My name is Christian, and this is my wife, Artha.
So one of the things that challenge our relationship during this COVID-19 is the fact that we have to stay at home with the big family. We live with another 12 adults and 3 children in the house. And during the normal time, I think people will just have their own routines and they will not always be at home. But because of this, we have to be at home all the time and stuck with altogether 17 adults with 3 children in the house. Usually it will be better if we can go out and have dinner, just the 2 of us, and then have a date night, going out to movies and visiting friends and do our own stuff. But with this, I think we are just struggling to find and prioritize our quality time together as a couple, and that has put a lot of tension in our relationship.
Yeah, I think one way that we've grown as a result of this experience has just been in our intentions to be praying for each other and to be praying for our marriage. So like Arthur said, it's just been maybe more tense because we don't have those outlets, and so we've realized, a lot of what we've taken for granted.
Well, that's I think quite normal. Maybe some of us think that we're abnormal, but hearing from our friends as well really help us to also realize that relationships stretch a little bit during this time. And perhaps we can hear a few more from some of our friends who are struggling in a different way.
In terms of my profession, I am a tutor, and so there is a loss of bond with a lot of my students, which is quite saddening. But of course, since we're cooped up at home, my brothers and I have a chance to be closer, and I start to see that this is an opportune time for me to reflect who Christ is, since they are both non-believers.
I prefer to meet people face to face, which is why being isolated makes me feel uncomfortable. Even though the option to communicate online are there, however, I feel the personal touch is missing. It's not easy to work from home and communicate with others only by WhatsApp and Zoom. The situation makes me feel I'm being far away from the world, which is a blessing from God. I become very close to my family that enables me to spend a quality time with them like never before. The other blessing is that my relationship with God. It's never been a good time, but now to improve my relationship with Him, to reflect on His words, and to guard my mind with His words, knowing that He is always listening and be with me.
Thank you, friends, for sharing the video, making a home video, sharing your struggles during this time. I understand that as we cannot meet in person anymore, we cannot meet face to face like we used to, and we communicate mostly through WhatsApp. Maybe we do Zoom call once a week, but it's nothing in compared to meeting face to face, flash to flash. And we communicate through WhatsApp, misunderstanding can happen. That because we don't meet each other for a long time, what we said can be misunderstood by the other person and can create conflict because of that. And because we don't see each other face to face, we can sometimes become judgmental, especially during this COVID-19, where people have different conviction. So even just going out of the house, the husband might want to go out of the house, the wife doesn't want the husband to go out of the house. It's already different conviction.
Or visiting parents. Visiting grandparents.
That's right.
Can be an issue.
Can be an issue. The wife wants to go, the husband said, don't go. And there's conflict, there's confusion, there's so many things that affecting relationship, not only the relationship at home, but with our friends, with our extended family, with parents, with grandparents, in general in relationship. So let's hear more from our friends. What are their struggles?
The challenges I feel in relationship during this COVID-19 stay-at-home period is that I can no longer physically spend time with those people I enjoy spending time with. My family back home in Bandung, my friends and people at church, even my colleagues at work. Those people I can no longer meet physically. The relationship is a bit strained in a sense, but I do learn that there are some other kindness that you can receive and pass on with this stay-at-home period as well. You get to know heart to heart. Instead of just doing activities together, you can just chat and focus on what they have in mind, their struggles. Yeah, in one thing you're missing one, which is the physical hangout. But on the other hand, you have this emotional bond and spiritual encouragement as well. So you get everything still, even when you are away from each other.
Well, thank you again for those of you who share with us. I know that this is an unusual time, and it will take some time for us to adjust. And I believe that we should not just remain where we are, having lots of frictions and having lots of fights, whether that is at home or with some of our friends, our community that we used to be able to meet and flesh things out. But with this kind of situation, we can turn to the Word of God and also learn what are some practical ways that we can find solutions to some of these challenges. So Mimi, maybe you can share a little bit about what are those practical steps that we can take in order for us to continue nurturing our relationship rather than allowing this situation kind of deteriorating our relationship.
I think the first one is that we need to be more flexible during this time. Like, for example, at home, I need to be more flexible with Hendra and with Gabby working from home. I think in the last 1 month, I have changed to become more extrovert in terms of I need to still be able to function in a noisy situation in a crowded house. I still need to be able to write and finish my dissertation, which I did about a week ago. And also, I need to overlook an offense. Like when Hendra snapped, I need to understand, oh yeah, he's also stressed. So just overlook a minor offense. Also with friends that hurt us or misunderstood us, since everyone have different conviction what to do and what not to do during this COVID-19. We have disagreement with friends, even conviction. So we need to also understand each other, overlook minor offense and be flexible. And sometimes we need to pick up a phone to clarify some misunderstanding and renew the relationship again. Maybe anything from you? I have some more to add to that.
Yeah, of course, when even before crisis like this happened, even in the old normal, relationship is challenging, isn't it? Because we all are coming from different background, perhaps, and sometimes words that is said is not exactly what we heard, or what they say. They might not have chosen the correct words, then we misinterpret what they say. So conflict is inevitable in any relationships, right? So I agree with you that sometimes we just overlook an offense, but more often than not, we need to be extending grace to each other. Grace is probably the most important ingredient in anything, especially in relationship, and much more in a time when we have crisis like this. Before even when we want to speak to people, we need to be thinking and giving them perhaps more of the benefit of the doubt. But so much more now, with so many things going on around us, we need to always think the best for other people, not always kind of have a negative thoughts about what they might be thinking, but always give them the benefit of the doubt and thinking that what they say actually is for our good as well, or the reason why they say that, they must have a very good reason why they said that before we pass judgment on them.
So I think at home, the solution is that we need to create boundaries, right? For example, if you are working, maybe we can set a time, for example, at 12 noon, when we have lunch together. That is the time where we can just talk and we can bother each other at that time. We set a time. So we agreed upon certain time, certain time in a day that we can communicate, where I can ask for help. So boundaries like that, I think, is very important. So we respect each other, what each other's is doing at home, and also the same thing with Gabby. Do you have any input on the boundaries at home?
Yeah, I think boundary is still very important, or at least talk about it. You might not want to just say, okay, from 8 o'clock until 12 o'clock, don't bother me. That might itself create problem, right? But we just become more sensitive, but we talk about it, what we can agree on. So if just once a day break is not what other families might decide to do, they can come up creatively, as long as they have mutual agreement, what works for their family, what works for their situation, isn't it? And I know that some people still have to adjust a lot to this situation. For a husband, let's say that if he used to go out and work 8 to 10, even 12 hours a day, now that he is at home, some of them maybe have some reduced workload, because depending on what business you are in. Some of you have your business closed down and you're spending a lot of hours at home, not really doing your business. And then all of a sudden, you don't know what to do. And if the husband and wife's relationship were not really good in the beginning, in the first place, conflict and inevitably fights would just surmount, right? And perhaps this is a good time also to kind of say, okay, now we have more extra time. What are some of the constructive things we can do? You have access to Right Now Media. There are lots of resources there to talk about how you can actually work on your marriage and continue to grow. And if you need any advice, come to us and write us. We have resources that perhaps can meet your needs. And as you work on those kind of things with your time, we hope that there are certain improvement and certain ways that you can actually use this valuable time during the pandemic to grow in your relationship as well.
That's right. Maybe for some husbands staying at home, with the contentious wives. Wow, what a
That
challenge.
would be challenging, right?
Like Proverb 25 verse 24 says, better to live in the corner of a roof rather than spending time with the contentious wife at home. So I guess this is also time for wives to grow as well, that we need to be looking at ourselves. Are we talking too much? Are we nagging too much? Do we need to say less words? Like James 1 says that when words are many, we will sin more, that we need to be slow to speak and slow to become angry, and we need to listen more. So I guess to make this work at home, women tend to talk more than men in general. So probably we as wives, that we need to cut down and then see whether the talkativeness of our talkativeness, is it too much for the husband and children now they're at home together. But in this case, you talk more. I talk less.
Now they can start a fight. You remember in Re-Engage we learned about wine, W-I-N-E, where sometimes when we have conflict, instead of talking it out, we would withdraw.
Yeah.
So when we withdraw, we don't resolve issues because the main issue are still going to be surmounting right there, and anytime we can explode, right? What are the other components? I is invalidating. So when my spouse or somebody else feels like, they're so tired of all this situation, and immediately we invalidate. Why are you like that? Everybody's facing that, and we invalidate people's feelings, and that is not a good communication method as well. Instead, what we should be doing is that, well, honey, I know that the situation is difficult. You must have been exasperated with all the news and everything that is going on around. I can really empathize with you because oftentimes I feel the same way. So that is validating people's feelings, and we need to learn to be more proactive in doing that, especially during this time. And then we also have
negative interpretation. Sometimes we interpret negatively what other people said, whether it is our spouse or friends or from others, but actually they don't mean it that way, but because the framework in our mind is already negative, whatever they said is negative. So this can create conflict and misunderstanding, but we need to give the benefit of the doubt. Always think positive first of what the other person is saying, not right away automatically interpret it negatively. For some people, that means the framework inside needs to be changed first. That we can, this time is a good time to train our mind to always think positive instead of first input is negative. First input is positive.
Yeah.
That we can train our minds to do that.
And for some people, the last one, E, escalating, is also a pattern that perhaps oftentimes happen in the home, even prior to this pandemic. So right now, with all the stimuli around us, it will create even more of that. So how do we avoid escalating a conversation into a fight?
How to? Usually when one says this and then the other person wants to up it and then escalate more and escalate more, I think the right thing to do is to do timeout. That we need to be wise enough, exercising self-control when we know that the heat is rising up. The conversation is not a conversation anymore. It's more like starting to be a yelling competition. We need to stop. Honey,
cool down.
probably we should stop right now and we should cool down. And we can come back maybe at 3 p.m. We can talk again. Maybe you can do that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So escalation definitely is not the way to go, right? Again, we talked about grace earlier. So what we need to do is to extend grace. The natural self, the natural fleshly desire is really to repay evil with evil, right? If you do this, I'm going to do that. Even if I'm hurt, I'm going to hurt you back. But I think when we extend grace, even though when we're hurt, we're willing to take that hurt for the moment until our spouse is has cooled down, that we can actually talk back to them with good words. And good words oftentimes is the medicine, is the right thing to do. When somebody is starting to say something that is hurting, we respond with kindness. Oftentimes that will reduce the escalating effect, and we can go back to normal conversation as well. So let's also hear from our friends. How are they resolving some of these issues? What are some of the lessons that they learn throughout this time in relationships with one another, whether that is in the home and also outside of the home?
Are you happy to be at home always for 1 month?
Oh yeah, very happy. I'm really happy.
Why?
Because you don't have to do anything like school and
You don't have school.
I have it online, but it's really fast. Yeah,
Okay.
is super fast.
Who is helping you with your school?
My mama,
Okay.
and we can take our time to playing the computer all day.
Okay. So you're not missing school.
No,
You're not missing your friends.
No, a little bit. I'm just missing my friends in the church.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, it's been more than 1 month now. You are in confinement. What are the challenges that you have in your relationship?
It's really challenging. You know, it's not because I don't love you guys. You see, I don't used to see you 24 hours by 7. I used to have my own activity. My children used to have their own activity, and you used to be in the office, and you just come back in the day, and it was smooth, you know. Well, my maid is not working anymore since there is COVID, because she wasn't stay with us, so I have to take care of the household and everything. So at the first week I was angry and upset. I think one of you guys, you or my children, remind me. They say I should not complain. I should be grateful. But it was about the story about Paul, who was put in jail. And then he was still grateful to be in jail and joyful. He sing and he really gave a very positive impact to the people in the jail. And then so then I realized that I shouldn't be complaining, because anyway the government asked me to be in my home with the people that I love the most, which is my children and my husband. They don't ask me to be in jail. So since that time I was joyful, and I feel so great that this coronavirus is there, so I can spend the most beautiful time with my children and my husband. I don't know, maybe this will be the best memory that I can share to my children later. So I'm very grateful.
So I guess it's a matter of perspective, right? Whether we want to be grateful or ungrateful in the situation, it is a matter of perspective. Once our perspective change, then we're okay. We can handle relationship. We can navigate all these difficulties and challenges. And I just want to also share what I did last week. So some of you probably might be disagree with me, as people are having different conviction on what to do and what not to do during this COVID-19. So I have a friend who's already depressed because already staying at home too long, more than 2 weeks, and she started to have negative thoughts. Already have negative thoughts because she doesn't see people at all, just cooped up at home with the kids. So I offer to come to her apartment complex. I visited her, but I don't go to her apartment, but we just met downstairs at the swimming pool. There's a chair, and the chairs is already being arranged so far away. Probably she sit here, and then I will sit there, probably 3 meters apart. It's already kind of like set that way. So we wear a mask, so we catch up, we share our lives, we just communicate, we just catch up for so long not meeting, and that rejuvenate my soul. That is feeling my soul. It blessed me so much to be able to meet her, to talk to her, and also the same thing with her. And then at the end, we wear masks and we just walk on the pathway. There's a garden in her apartment. We just walk along. I guess for singles, you can do that. You can still visit your friends, but be careful that you wear masks, that you still practicing social distancing, not too close. We can walk and outdoor. I think if we meet outdoor, probably that's safer compared to meeting with indoor. How long more we are deprived of this face-to-face meeting each other, fellowship with sisters in Christ. So I guess if you're single, I think it's easier for you to go meet outside with your friends, but outdoor, be careful, rather than those who are moms.
Now, even what you are suggesting right now, people might have different opinion about that.
That's right.
People
That's
will
right.
probably say, "Hey, but there is a PSBB that you're doing that. That means you are violating what the government is saying, and
Yes.
and that can create conflict in itself,
Yeah.
isn't it?" But again, I think it is very wise for us to think through it, to pray about it. What is the most God-honoring thing
Yeah.
to do during
So
that
first,
time?
though, I asked the person, would you be offended if I come and visit you? Would you be willing? Are you comfortable enough to meet me if we outdoor and we both wear masks? So if the person say yes, that I would go ahead and come.
Yeah.
But if the person say no, I'm not comfortable, then I won't pressure. I won't come.
Yeah.
So it depends on the comfortable level of the person that we want to meet. Yeah.
That's right. So maybe even both of you agree to meet. There will be another person that
That's
says,
right.
that, "Why are you guys meeting?" So we are in a very
Yes.
strange situation and strange
Yeah.
time, right? So
Yeah.
that again, I think discernment is very much needed.
Yeah.
We need to be sensitive to the people around us, not creating more problems than there are already. Making sure that whatever we do, we want to make sure that nobody is misinterpreting what we are doing, communicating well with one another. Maybe we can hear more about what other people are doing and what are they learning, what lessons are they learning during this time as they stay home or have less face-to-face communications with one another outside of the home, but now more interactions and more frictions at home.
Staying at home for such a long time also give us a more opportunity to communicate with each other. Not just talking about facts, we do talk about facts, but more importantly, it's important to talk about our feelings, our anxieties, and our hope. Also, to know our kids better. So, this is a time for families to go deeper. But of course, there are lots of conflicts, so we still need to show them grace and overlook minor offenses. We cannot do that without a close relationship with the Lord. So we still need to be diligently to spend our personal time with the Lord and to receive grace from Him.
Yeah, I think one way that we've grown as a result of this experience has just been in our intentions to be praying for each other and to be praying for our marriage. So like Arthur said, it's just been maybe more tense because we don't have those outlets. And so we've realized, a lot of what we've taken for granted. And in the tension, we've had to go in prayer more. And so with maybe frustrations and arguments increasing, we've also seen grace and mercy increase more in our marriage. That's just been a real blessing to see quicker turnarounds from arguments and just a willingness to try just to be more patient, to be more gracious, and just to really rest upon the Lord for strength. And so, yeah, I think that's how we've definitely grown from the experience.
COVID-19 has made deepen the level of the conversation we have with each other. COVID-19 has forced us to consider individually and as a family what is truly important for us. Is it really success at work, money, and really talking much more about what our life should be about and what God really wants from us during this time. The other is actually just having the time recovered from all the traffic jams and resources, because many churches now have moved so much resources online to actually go deeper into God's Word, particularly to try and understand what God wants from us during this time and who really is in control.
Well, again, thank you so much for all the people who have contributed as well through a self video. We are all learning from each other, and hopefully we can better our relationship with one another. In closing, there are a few words that we would like to just share from our hearts. First, I think I've said it before. Let me repeat it again because it is so important. Grace is a very, very important ingredient in any relationship, especially during this time now. Extending grace, knowing that even when we make mistakes, God already forgiven us as we come in repentance to Him. So we need to constantly engage with one another by extending grace to one another, not to easily withhold goodness from one another just because we are being hurt or feeling that somebody has wronged us. Instead, we need to go out and extend grace. Another thing is, don't just think about yourself. I shouldn't be thinking only about my interests. I should be thinking about my spouse, even when we are at home together. I think about other people when I talk to them. What circumstances and situations are they in, so that I too can extend grace. I too can be sacrificingly trying to understand them and not try to second guess them. How about you? Anything you can say to close us off?
Humility is very, very important. When somebody wrong us, we can overlook the minor offense, and that overlooking minor offense take humility. And sometimes it takes humility also that we are the one that initiate to ask for forgiveness, that when there's a misunderstanding, that we're the one that initiate to ask for forgiveness. I'm sorry if you feel this way, would you please forgive me? Can we talk about this? So coming with humility is the way to continue to maintain the relationship that we have prior to Corona, that we hope that we want to maintain this relationship, that past Corona, that we still have this relationship intact and even stronger. And also forgiveness, that we need to forgive each other during this time where when there's conflict, when there's friction, we need to pass on forgiveness fast and not holding on to that bitterness, but quickly pass on that forgiveness and start new again. Because again, when we're at home, when our mind is most of the time idle, we don't see people, depression can hit very quickly. And if we don't want to forgive people very fast, that loneliness at home, especially those who are alone, can just stuck in. That bitterness can just quickly
things just build up, isn't it?
Things just spiraling down if we don't want to forgive fast. So I think forgiving fast and humility is the key to maintain relationship with anyone at this point. Yeah.
Well, that's all for today. We're so glad that you have joined us. We hope that you can also learn a few things and strengthen your relationship, continue to grow, continue to extend grace to each other. Until then, we'll see you again.
We hope you enjoyed today's session and that it has blessed and encouraged you. See you next Thursday for our next midweek chat. Have a great week of worship.